Hi, everyone. Welcome in. We've got folks trickling in. We've got some folks that we're waiting to get in, so welcome, everyone. I'm Daniel Callahan. I'll be one of your co-hosts of this session, and this session is on importing and exporting data. And I've got a co-host with me if you want to say hi. It'll be kind of confusing because we're both named Daniel, but I swear there's two of us, and we are co-hosts.
Yeah, hi everyone. Daniel Fuhriman here. Excited to teach you a few tips and tricks about importing and exporting.
So we'll get started here in just a minute. And as you can see on the slide, this is importing and exporting. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. We'll do a little bit of introductions and we'll go over the agenda here shortly. I'll just give folks another few seconds to join in, and then we'll jump into it. This is a workshop style session, so we'll be running through a handful of exercises that both cover importing and exporting, including a VLOOKUP. If anybody has or has not done those, we'll be doing one together. Sometimes it's necessary in importing. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. And you can throw it in the chat if you'd like. Say hi, say where you're coming in from. I'm out in Portland, Oregon, so the Pacific Northwest. Always like to know where folks are joining in from. I was in the pipeline session before this one, and it was very global. We had Czech Republic, South Africa, Australia. So somebody was up at 2:45 in the morning, or they hadn't gone to bed yet, depending on their sleep cycle there, hanging out in Empower for pipelines. So would love to know where everyone's from. Looks like we've got someone from Minnesota. Hello from Denver, Colorado. Awesome. We've got Delray Beach, Florida. So folks, come say hi in the chat. Let me know that you can see the slides. As an FYI, as we share our screen, you'll have the ability to minimize and maximize what you're seeing, either the slides or our shared screen. We'll try to prompt you to let you know when to go back and forth so you know when to be looking at the slides. But you have these little minimize and maximize buttons to jump between what we're showing in the slides here. So folks, oh wow, yeah, Massachusetts, Arizona, Canada, everywhere, awesome. So let's get started here. We're doing importing and exporting data. Welcome to Empower. If this is your first session, welcome. If this is your first Empower, or if you've been here for all 6 Empowers, I think, maybe more at this point, welcome back. Happy to have you. And yeah, let's jump right into it here. So a quick, brief introduction. I'm Daniel Callahan. I've been at QuickBase for 6.5 years. I've been a product trainer for roughly the last year. And before that, I was a QuickBase developer or builder internally. So any apps that we use to run the business, I helped manage those. Anything that had to do with employee lifecycle management, from tiny little apps all the way to our biggest apps used by everyone in the business. And I'll hand it over to Daniel. He can say hello and welcome as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Daniel Fuhriman. I'm a procurement analyst for a construction company called CRH American Materials. My office is out of Ogden, Utah. I'm passionate about outdoors, sports, and QuickBase. I'm a big Utah Jazz fan. I've been using QuickBase for 2 years now. My philosophy in our office is, if you can think it, I can build it in QuickBase. Or hey, if you have a spreadsheet, I can convert any spreadsheet into a QuickBase app. So really excited to be here with you and share some of these tips and tricks that I've accumulated since starting to use QuickBase. So.
Awesome, thanks so much. We'll go ahead and jump into the session here. You should have all gotten emails to open up a Builder account. And that's just so that you're able to create apps from scratch, because we're going to grab an app from our exchange and you'll need to be able to create apps. If you know for a fact you can do that from your corporate account, you're A-OK to use that. If you don't know or aren't sure or know that you cannot create apps from scratch, go ahead and head over to that URL. It's just going to ask you for your first, last name, and a personal email address. So don't get your wires crossed by putting in a corporate email address in there. And then you'll hit submit to open up that Builder account. Just think of it as a personal QuickBase account, so you can test stuff out in there, build your own apps, build apps for passions or hobbies, anything like that. Just think of it as a testing ground that you have admin rights in. So go ahead and head over there if you don't have a Builder account or haven't opened it, and you will get a verification email basically immediately to the email address that you used. So go ahead and verify that. Secondly, because we're going to be grabbing an app from the exchange, there's a couple of ways to access the exchange. On the left, if you're on a Builder account, at the bottom of the Learning and Help column, you'll see a link that says Exchange. Go ahead and click on that. If you're on your corporate account, at the top of that Learning and Help column, you'll see a button that says Explore Sample Apps. Go ahead and click on that. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you can toggle over to that, as I need to actually grab this app from our exchange along with all of you.
Daniel, we got a question here regarding where is the URL?
Yep. Yeah, I pasted it in the attendee chat, so it should be in there. And you might if you do open your Builder account now, it may the verification email may go to like your spam box, or it may just take a couple minutes to get there. But give it a moment or two, and you should get it. And we can kind of hang tight here. But I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and jump into QuickBase with all of you. And you can just throw it in the chat if you're able to see my screen. I should be on my app's dashboard. That way I can just get a little bit of confirmation that that you can see what I'm seeing or what I'm showing here. Okay, awesome. Looks like a couple yeses are trickling in. Sweet. So I'm in my Builder account. I can see in the upper right here, it says Builder account. So I'm going to go to the bottom of this Learning and Help column, and there's an exchange link. For you folks in the corporate account, you'll see the button up here that says Explore Sample Apps. Once in the exchange, which is just a kind of a curated marketplace of apps. So if you've never been here before, you can see on the left there's categories where you can find different app types if you're looking to build off of something. I'm going to go ahead and type in Empower 2021 Importing and Exporting. And I'll copy paste this in the chat as well. So you can just copy paste that. And you'll notice once you hit enter or search, one app pops up. Empower 2021 Importing and Exporting Data. Go ahead and click Get This App. And you don't have to rename it. You can just immediately click Create here. When I pass this over to Daniel, as he's going to walk you through the first couple of exercises, he'll give you a brief rundown of this app. So we're just going to back burner it for now. Just want to make sure everyone has the app. And what we'll do now is turn our attention towards our learning goals. So you can minimize the shared screen window and go ahead and re-maximize the slides, as we're going to be hanging out in these slides for a little bit before we jump into the workshop. So as you can see on the slides, we've got some learning goals, and this being a hands-on workshop style session, we want you to come out of it kind of understanding or learning specific goals. So the first one is how to create an app from a spreadsheet. So we're going to take a spreadsheet and we're going to walk you through how to just create an app from that file. Secondly, there's a feature in QuickBase that not everyone knows about that to me is really awesome. It's called Create a Table Based Off of This Field. And what it allows you to do is from a table, click that option, and QuickBase will create a parent table and a relationship between the original table and the one you just created. We're going to do that a couple of times so that you can use that feature a couple of times and kind of see the magic happen there. Third is not only can you import records from a file, you can also import or update records via a clipboard. So if you have a small subset of records and you don't want to save a file and choose it that way, you can just, from your CSV or whatever file you're using, is just copy that and paste it in via clipboard. So we'll walk you through that. And then lastly, we'll be executing a VLOOKUP in Excel to help relate orphaned records. So there's times in your app where you have child records that do not have a parent. And sometimes you don't have the data structured in your app to go ahead and to quickly relate those hundreds or thousands of orphan child records. And so what you can do is a VLOOKUP in Excel to quickly get the parent table's reference field or a key field value to then put in the reference field and update it. If you just have a couple of orphaned records, you can probably just update it via the form or a grid edit. This is more for larger subsets of data. Some folks are saying they're still trying to get in. So if you're in a corporate account and you're not able to create an app from scratch, that just means you don't have build permissions. But we do have a specific error out there saying we can't find what you're looking for. Either it's been deleted. Let me walk you through the beginning here. And please throw it in the chat if you were able to grab this app. I just want to make sure that some folks were able to locate it and download it. And then for the folks who are having issues getting it, I'll walk you through the steps again. So I'm going to close out of my app, and I'm going to get back to My Apps page. So I'll just click on My Apps. Okay, so it's kind of split here, yes and no, which is super bizarre. And I feel like for the people who aren't able to get it, they may not have create app permissions. So you definitely want to get into your Builder account and verify it. Once you get that verification email. Yeah, so someone's saying they don't have admin rights. That probably means you're on your corporate account. So again, that's why we all want you in Builder accounts, because they're your admins, they're your personal accounts. There's no restrictions on what you can and cannot do. So definitely jump into the Builder account. And we can paste that link again for all of you if you don't have it already. Just go to that URL. If you already have a Builder account, you don't need to do anything. You can just log in and go to the My Apps page. If you don't have a Builder account and you're using a corporate account where you do not have app create permissions, you're going to want to head over to that URL and open a Builder account. So I can go back in the deck here. Yep, no worries on the patience. We'll get through this. When you go to this URL, you'll see a screen similar to this, and you want to click Sign Up. There's a couple spots where you can click it. Once you click Sign Up, you'll have a spot to put in your name and personal email address and just choose a password. Then you'll get that verification email that you'll want to click through. Once you're at this URL, it should be super straightforward though. So I'm going to jump off of this screen as you have the URL in the chat and go back to the slide that shows you where to find the app in our Exchange. So I'm going to do that on the share screen, on the shared screen, so you can maximize that again if you'd like. But I just click on Exchange here in the bottom. That will open up our Exchange, and then you can go ahead and search for that string that I typed in earlier. And I'll paste it again. You can literally just copy that and paste it in just like I did, and then hit enter or search, and one app will pop up. And you want to click get this app, and I'll hang tight here both on my shared screen and the slides. That way you're seeing the same. If you don't have app create permissions and you get this far, you're going to get an error message. Basically, your account admin at your company just hasn't given you those permissions. And I have create permissions in our corporate account, but I still like to use my personal builder account just as a nice little kind of sandbox here. So once you see this, go ahead and click get this app, and then you can immediately just hit create. You do not have to rename it. I'm not going to hit create because I already did. I only need one instance of the app, so I'm going to back out of here. But for the folks who were getting error messages, are you getting through now? Are you able to find the app and download it? This is also being recorded as well. And we do offer, the customer education team offers a training similar to this, typically on a monthly cadence, but definitely would love everyone to be able to find the app and build along together. Yeah, I tried importing and then the word and exporting, and it won't find it. So you do have to do the ampersand, or you can just do, I think, importing.
If you do exporting data, that's the only one that comes up too. So.
Yeah, couple ways to get it. It looks like a few folks that were having errors are good to go now. So we'll go ahead and move forward here. I'm going to close out of my Exchange tab, and I can see my new app in my app bar here. Let's jump into our agenda for the day. So with those 4 learning goals in mind, so go ahead and re-maximize the slides, as we'll be in here for a little bit. But to achieve those learning goals, we've got a little bit of an agenda to follow. So we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of a builder so that we can kind of role play, and we're not just building an app for no reason. There's a purpose behind it. And that way we kind of work through that. So we'll define a story and use case. Then we're going to go ahead and talk about importing and exporting. So we learn a little bit about what they are and kind of the nuances of both of those features. Then we'll jump into the workshop, and Daniel will lead the first 2 exercises, and then he'll pass it back over to me, and I'll lead you through the last 2 exercises. So we have 4 in total. And then we have a Q&A and extras at the end. So we've got some extra bonus slides with some content, some kind of checklist items, best practices, and a common use case that you may already be familiar with, revolving around leading zeros, that we'll cover in the extras as well. So story and use case. We are going to put ourselves in the shoes of a builder for PSMB Transportation, which is just Portland, Salt Lake City, and Boston. They are a propane trucking or transportation company focusing on those 3 cities. With those 3 cities in mind, they're in different time zones all across the country. And so there's a lot of transportation management that they need to take care of. And so the management team is reaching out to us and asking us to stand up a new app that tracks the following data. Departments. There's going to be different departments in different locations for this company around the country. Within those departments, we're going to have employees. So there's going to be a lot of employee tracking in this app, which will include time off requests. And that just helps them with their calendar and scheduling. And then the last bit is there are specific special kind of overweight permits that need to be requested per department. And so management wants to be able to track that. And they're doing that in this app because there are certain kind of licenses or specialties that employees need to be able to have those trucking permits. So that's why all of this is being managed in one app here. In order to do that, we've got to learn a little bit about importing and exporting in QuickBase. So we'll go ahead and jump right into importing here. First off, you can initiate an import at an app or table level, and we'll show you both of those in our exercises. So you can create an app with an import, or you can import new records or update current records at the table level. 3 supported file formats, XLSX, CSV, and TSV. CSV is just comma separated, super common form of file, and then TSV is tab separated, a little different than the comma separated. Those are the 3 file formats that we currently support when importing. As I mentioned earlier with the orphaned records, if you only have a handful of records to work with, updating or adding records at the form level or via grid edit is probably the way to go. Importing is more for bulk data or big data sets. When you're thinking, even the dozens can be considered pretty cumbersome to do in grid edit, all the way up to the tens of thousands of records that you want to bring in quickly. You can use importing for that. And then as I mentioned, at the table level, you can either create new records or update current ones depending on how you're kind of setting up the import. On the flip side from importing, I'm sorry, and I forgot one little tidbit here. If you're importing into a user field, you'll want to use an email address. And that's just because every QuickBase user account is based off of an email address. The first time you ever accessed QuickBase for your company's account, you set up a user profile or a user account, and that required you to put in an email address. So behind the scenes, every user field is based on an email address, and it's easier to import that way as opposed to having to deal with kind of a hashed user ID value. For exporting, rather than at the app and table level, this is something you execute at a table or report level. So if you want to, export all of the records and fields in a table, you would execute it at the table level. If you have a report you've created, it's filtered, it's curated in a custom manner, and you want to export those values, you would do it from the report level so that you're only exporting those records and those fields. So you have a lot of all or nothing and everything in between options here with the two files in QuickBase. 3 supported file formats here, but a little different. It's going to be CSV and TSV, which are the same as importing. And then you also have XML. You can export that way as well. As I mentioned, when you import into a user field, it's easier to use an email address. And that's because when you export, you're going to get this full hashed ID on the right. And it won't work if you try and import with this full value. So it's easier to do a number of things. If you just want to export a user's name, maybe you're going to share this report or this spreadsheet with someone. And if you were to share it with them, they would have no idea what this hashed ID means and you want to remove it. What you can do is just create a formula text field that just extracts the user's full name and then export that instead of the user field. And if you know that you're going to use this spreadsheet later on to import, to maybe update records, you can use a formula email address field that just pulls the user's email address value so that you can import it later and you don't have to deal with the name, which you wouldn't be able to import with, or this hashed ID, which is a little bit more messier here. As I mentioned in the agenda, in our extras or bonus slides, we have a comprehensive guide on how to basically properly prepare Excel to keep your leading zeros. Because we all have fields out there that have leading zeros. Maybe it's invoice number, employee ID number, shipment number. And when you export it from QuickBase, the leading zeros are kept. But if you immediately just click on that CSV in Excel, it's going to remove those leading zeros. And so we've all dealt with it. It's a super pain to deal with. And so we've got some steps for you to help you through that if you do have any of those fields with leading zeros on how to essentially prepare Excel to accept those. At this point, we've done a little bit of a background check on importing and exporting. And so at this point, we'll go ahead and turn this over to the workshop as we're going to create this app from scratch, and Daniel will go ahead and lead you through this. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and Daniel will go ahead and share his. And as you can see on the slides here, as he's getting his screen up to share, he's going to focus on the first two exercises, which is creating the app from scratch and then using that create a table based off of a field feature to create these parent tables for a hierarchy in our app here. So go ahead and take it over.
Okay, awesome. Can you see my screen, Daniel?
Yep.
Okay, I just have to ask because I don't do this as a full-time job presenting. So if you can't see, let me know. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I'd like to make this as nice and enjoyable experience as possible. Like Daniel said, this is a workshop, so it's intended that we provided you with an app that's already built. This is our end product, and if you need to reference it, you can, but we're going to take you from the beginning and show you all the way to the end of how you can build this as well. So yeah, follow along if you can. If not, just watch, and there's a lot of cool tips and tricks that we're going to show you. We're going to make you become the Excel conversion into QuickBase wizard by the end of this training here. So this is the finished product. As you can see, we took one spreadsheet, a flat spreadsheet, and we're converting it into tracking all of these important features for this management team. All the departments for this trucking company, all the employees in each department, tracking the time off requests for each of those employees, and then tracking overweight permits for the vehicles that they're going to be using in this company. So very important. And this is similar to an app that I built for our construction company. And I had a manager just say, hey, can you build something in QuickBase to help me track my time off? And before I knew it, I converted every best practice spreadsheet he had and incorporated it into this app. And it became pretty much what he lived out of to run his job and keep everyone in line and running his department. So really cool. So hopefully you can have some takeaways of some stuff that you can track here. So I'm not going to go into detail on these particular tables right now, but we're going to dive right in. So you'll want to go into this documents table is where we have provided you with these spreadsheets that we're going to show you how to scrub and prepare to put it into an app. And then once we get the data in there, Daniel's going to show you how to do a VLOOKUP and do an update on some records, and then start another table by importing the permits. So let's just go ahead. You'll see these three files. Go ahead and click each of the hyperlinks. We're going to start with exercise 1. So they all start with importing, exporting. We're going to do the create app for exercise 1 and 2. So it should be opening. And I suggest you hit these download links now, because we probably won't be coming back to this example, this app. So go ahead and download those now. One thing I want to show you is some of the preparation I do in advance to upload it into QuickBase. Just to give you a few tips and tricks of Excel. I'm not here advertising for Excel, but there's some really valuable things I thought you would like to know as you prepare to scrub this and get it where it needs to be for the upload. So first thing I like to do is I like to bold the column headers. So go ahead and select that number 1 right there. As you select it, it's going to highlight that whole row. And then just go ahead and turn it bold. It helps identify and bring it to your attention of what column you're using, what field you're going to be working with. The next thing I like to do is adjust the column widths. As you can see, these hashtags and stuff, obviously there's more data and it needs more width to show everything in that column. So go ahead, click on this caret here in the top left. That is the select all feature in Excel. So once you select that, let's move over right in between the A and B and double click that. There we go. So now we can see we have auto fitted each of the columns so we can see and read the information pertaining to each column. The next thing I like to do, as you can see here, as we scroll down, we just lost our column headers, right? And so it's really important that we know what we're dealing with. So we'll just select here in cell 2A. We're going to go over to the View tab, the ribbon here in Excel, and you're going to find a Freeze Pane option. And we're going to hit the first option, the select option here available, Freeze the Pane. So select that. And as you can see now, as we scroll down, those column headers stay where we need them to. And then a lot of us, as we're working with the data, we know the old traditional method of highlighting the cells that we're working in. I just want to give you a quick shortcut. As you go into cell 1A, you hold Control-Shift. You can use the arrows on your keyboard to select. It will go clear to the end of that row or all the way down to that bottom of the column. So hold Control-Shift, hit the right arrow, and we're going to keep holding Control-Shift and hit the down arrow. So now there's all the data set that we're working with is highlighted. You can also do that. There's the problem of selecting all is you're going to have a bunch of empty cells. So that's a quick, a few tips and tricks of Excel. The last one in Excel is an easy way. If you have Windows 10, I apologize if you have a MacBook or other, but if you hit F12 on your keyboard, you can save that spreadsheet to wherever file you want. So those are some Excel tips and tricks. Now we're going to move our attention over to things I look for, and I want to take note of what the workbook contains. So when we get the data into the QuickBase app, we're able to then update certain existing data connections, macros, formulas, comments. That stuff, unfortunately, does not get carried and take effect into your app just by uploading the spreadsheet. You got to go and still connect all those things. So please, if you have any questions, put it in the chat and Daniel will help me know when to stop. But the first thing I like to do before I take the spreadsheet is I want to create a data model. My next slide, I'll show you what our data model is for this particular spreadsheet. And in that data model, I'm making note whether there's existing data connections, these macros, formulas, reports and charts. So summary reports or pivot tables, or you have bar charts, what have you. The comments. Does anyone have any questions on how to see if a spreadsheet has these items here? I'll give it about 10 or so seconds, and I'll just assume everyone knows how to check in your spreadsheet where those items are. Okay. And then one thing you'll want to make note in your data model is identify who needs to be informed of its conversion. So if your manager says, hey, I want to convert this spreadsheet over to a QuickBase app, we're no longer going to be using the shared drive, interchange, what have you, to store the document. I want it to put it in an app. You'll want to take note and inform everyone, hey, we're no longer keeping that data in that file updated. We've now moved that process over to QuickBase. And then the last item here, file size, is very important to keep in mind as you're working in a spreadsheet. I usually, like a rule of thumb, I like to highlight the column A and get an idea how many rows we're working with. As of Excel, you refer it to rows, but in QuickBase, it's records. So we got 984 records here. I've done a lot of Excel conversion into QuickBase. My general rule of thumb is if there's less than 1,000 records, you can use so you highlight all this data set, you'd copy it. So right click, copy, or Control C, whatever your method is, and you can paste it into their awesome clipboard import option. It's a lot faster, I think. I like to use it if it meets that criteria. It's faster than just saving the file and importing it as the file option. It takes a little more time, but it's still nice. If it is over 1,000 records, go ahead and just save it as a normal Excel workbook like this. If it is, you'll want to check and make sure how big the file is. And you can do that by going to File, Info, right here, the size. If it's over 5 megabytes, you're not able to import it into QuickBase. You're going to have to break the file up and do several uploads, or just not convert the process over. So keep in mind, you got to be under 5 megabytes. One thing I've always done is if it's more than 1,000 records, and if it's under that 5 megabytes, I just save it as a normal Excel spreadsheet. If it's over 5 megabytes, one trick to keep in mind is using the CSV save option like Daniel showed us. Comma separated. And usually what that does is it condenses the file and it makes it smaller. It just cuts out all your formatting. So like my freeze the pane, if you highlight it, column headers, whatever. So just keep that in mind. And either than that, we're ready to roll. These are the tips and tricks I come up with, and they will be provided in our slides at the end. Okay, so since we didn't do anything to this data set, I'm just going to go ahead and close it. Keep in mind here, 984 rows in this spreadsheet. We'll come back to that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to build this app we went over from scratch to the finished product. So go ahead and hit New App. And here are your 3 options of how you can start building an app. We're build from a template, start from scratch. We already had a previous business process. We're going to now convert it into QuickBase. So we're going to use this option here. Okay, so import option. Here's that clipboard I was telling you about, but we're going to actually do the file. So go ahead and select from file. Now choose the file. And here it is right here. Hit next. Is anyone having any issues up to this point? Following along? Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, I said, keep in mind there's 984 rows. Well, it says right here, so it looks like everything is accounted for. You have the first 5 rows, the first row including the column headers, and then the last 5. So, and then what QuickBase does is it nicely suggests what kind of field type each of these columns should be. Let's see here. Let's see, just keep in mind that there's 2 fields, and QuickBase never suggests you start with that field option off the get-go. But all the other fields, but user list and multi-text select, those 2, once you set that field type, you're not able to change it back. So all the ones it's suggesting now, we can change it. So I'm not going to spend too much time here worrying about what it's suggested because I can change it. But make sure your box is checked because it's going to go with what you had the column header named in your spreadsheet. If you unselect it, you're going to have to start over or manually call it whatever you want. But let's make sure it's checked and then just kind of glimpse over this, like the phone number, that's correct, the date, everything looks good. So I'm not going to really do much here anymore because we can change it once it's in the table. So we'll hit create. And this is the most basic table we're starting off with. So we're going to call this time off request. Excuse me. Time off request.
Oh, hey, remember that's the application name there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, I guess I got to do better reading the field names here. So application name, just call it what you want. It's a transportation management app. Items in this table, this is going to be called time off request. I'll give everyone just a second here to type in what they want to call it. But just make sure, you can call the app what you want, just make sure that you're calling this table time off request. So when we're ready, go ahead and push OK. And we've already got ourselves a dashboard built automatically. These are suggested reports that you can use, that you can tweak. But we're going to go right into the time off request. And then we're going to go over one of the best kept secrets, one of the best features QuickBase has that a lot of people don't know about. And the only way to access that is by turning off this new style toggle switch. So we'll turn it off. So here you're going to see that whole spreadsheet right here. Apologize, my internet's slow, it looks like. So here's the whole data set from our spreadsheet. We're going to grab some of this information and take it up to the employee level. So right now, here's a good idea of all the time off requests we've got. I want to summarize it. I want to have a parent table showing each of the time off requests stored under each employee. So we'll go ahead right here to the employee full name, select this caret, and then go down to the 5th option, second one up from the bottom, new table based off this field. So select that. And we're going to add additional fields that we're going to move up to a parent table. So all these that say employee, all but the employee comments, we want to move from here over. So go ahead and select one at a time. And you'll see they'll get grayed out compared to the darker color once you bring them over. So bring them all over. We're going to leave comments because comments is referring to the time off request. So once you have all these selected over here, go ahead and push OK. And then we're going to
grab the oh hey yeah, you didn't grab the department manager. There was one kind of straggling there.
Oh shoot.
That's okay. I think if you hit cancel, you can just kind of go through the steps again. Yeah. And then jump back into the, yeah. Okay, so just, no, it didn't do anything. You just canceled out of it. Yeah. So you can start it from scratch here.
Okay. I apologize. I'm going to hurry and grab all these again. We're not doing comments. So it looks like, did we get department manager? Was this the one that was left off last time?
Yeah, you're good. You should have 9 over in that right in the fields to extract pane there. So if you count 9, you're good.
Okay, we've got 9. So we're going to hit OK. And now we'll hit next. And this will just say, hey, be careful. You might get tricked that these records are being stored on the time off request, but really they're being stored on the parent table. So we'll hit OK. We're going to call this new table employees with an S. And then each individual record will be an employee.
And can you hang tight here just a second? We've got a couple folks in the chat that are stuck on the building display kind of message. It basically, as soon as you click on new table based off this field on the back end, QuickBase is gathering all of the data that you're going to roll up to this new parent table.
Okay.
So I've had it before where I just had a minor blip in my internet and that kind of stopped it from gathering all the data. So it's still, it's still doing the same thing. Yeah, I would try one more refresh and then try it again and then just give it a second here. Are any other folks having the same issue where they're stuck at the building display, that little yellow message? Usually it just pops right through there. But we'll see if other folks are having that issue too. And once you do get it to go through, you want to click additional fields. There's a gray button in the bottom left that says additional fields. That's just allowing you to roll up more than the employee full name to the new table. If you don't click additional fields, only that field will roll up and the other ones will stay down in the time off request. But all of these being employee and department metadata that doesn't need to live on the time request table, we want to bring those up. So go ahead and you should have 9 fields in that fields to extract pane. Once you have that, go ahead and hit OK. And then you can go ahead and hit next, and then you'll be at the screen that Daniel is here. So go ahead and take it over from here.
Okay. I apologize if anyone wasn't able to get that to work, but at this point, we'll continue to push OK. So now we've got the time off request table and the parent table employees. So if I go into an employees, I'm going to go into one of them and show you how each employee's got the time off request summarized, embedded into a report. So this Brandon has taken nine time off requests, and there they are. We're going to take this one step further because we got some department information. So we're going to turn this new style toggle switch off one more time. We are in the employees table. And there should be 3 here that say something in the lines with department, employee department manager, employee department manager, or that's the manager title. So just click the first one here, We're going to do the very same thing that we just did. So we selected the one. We actually want to bring more than just the employee departments. We want to grab these additional 2. So there should be 3 over here dealing with something in the lines of department. Once we've got those selected, we'll hit OK. Hit next. And once we push continue, it will then ask us what we'd like to name the new table. We're going to chop off employee. The new table is going to be called departments. In a single record will be a department. So I'm going to hang tight just for a second. Are we getting any questions in the chat?
Looking good. Looking good so far.
Okay. I'm hitting OK or continue. Now exercise 1 has been completed. We've got ourselves a department that has many employees. Employees has many time off requests. So a child, parent, grandparent table. I'm going to now click into the departments table and show you. So here's our 4 made up departments. If I select the Seattle, Washington office, the manager's Chad Smith. He's over 12 employees. Here's some of their basic hiring and contact information, whether they're active or not. If I click into this gentleman, Cammie, I guess that's not a gentleman, it's this lady here, Cammie, there's her contact information, and then all her time off requests. So we just converted that spreadsheet into a QuickBase app. I now want to show you a few of my best practices that I go through after I get to this point of getting that spreadsheet into the app. Just kind of like of the Excel prepping, I want to hurry and do some quick updates to make this app even a little more cleaner and easier to use for our end users. So the first thing I do, we're going to go to this, either the home or the user table. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the relationship diagram. Now, as most of you know, you're not able to see this unless you're an admin. And so I'm going to try to make it as presentable and easy to follow for our end users as possible. So I went to the home table, clicked the settings, and now we're going to go over to app management. And we're going to take a peek at the relationship diagram. So here's the layout, and it's nice to keep this up to date in case you have additional work or things that you want to add to this application. It all makes sense to you as a builder. So I'm going to clean this up a little. Turn this off just to show you. So this is how our hierarchy structure is currently. Now, if I look over here to the table bar, these aren't in order. And so there could draw some confusion for our end users if this isn't in order, because they're not going to be able to come behind the scenes and look at this. So once we have it like this, go ahead and save it. I'm going to open up, well, go ahead and click on this home table again. And we're going to hit settings. What we're going to do is rearrange these tables so it makes more sense. So once you're right here, click on the table option. And what we're going to do is rearrange the order, what order it's showing on the table bar. So as you go up, the tables will be to the left. And as you move down, they're going to move more to the right. So our very far one to the left, we want it to show as departments. Then we want it to show employees. And this is nice because it automatically saves for us. If I go back here now, I'm going to refresh this screen, look right here. This is the same order now. So there's a nice continual flow and understanding for our end users. Any questions up to now? I got 4 more things I'd like to point out if there isn't any, but sounds like someone's.
Yeah, if you could just, I think I'm trying to clarify, but I think someone may have got lost. Oh, hold on. They just updated, created a table with the sample data. I want to use this. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I think they're describing something else. Someone said I got lost there, and I'm not sure if they're talking about where to rearrange the table. So if you could just show how to get back into the table list, I think we'll be good.
No problem. So going back to the table bar, like you see here, go ahead and you can either click on the home table or the user table and hit settings. And then you'll have this table option right here. Click on that. And then this is where you can rearrange it. So go ahead and just left select or hold up your left mouse and you can rearrange right here. Hopefully that helps. Any other questions in the chat?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. So the next thing I wanted to point out here that helps keep things clean and tidy. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to show you an example in one table, and then you can go through and do it to each of the other tables. But we're going to select departments, and we'll go into one of these records. As you can see here, this is called the record title. And I've had several end users say, what does that mean anyhow? Or I'm confused, you know. So we're going to go and update it. You can actually pick one of these fields below to sit in that spot versus saying right here, it says, you know, this is the 3rd record created in the departments table, right? So we're going to make it actually have some meaning to it. So I will go to the, sorry, I'm keeping another tab open, so if I refresh it, I can show you. Okay, so we're in the departments table. We're going to go ahead and hit settings. And we're going to go down to the advanced settings right here. So you've got to be in the department table, hit settings, come to advanced settings. And we're going to change the record title. So scroll down just a little. You see here, record title. Right now it's going off of the record ID. So go ahead and select this field. I want it to show the department. So there's actually some substance and meaning to it versus whatever order it was added to this table. So make sure you hit save. We'll go back and I'm going to refresh this. So watch how this is going to change here. There it is. And that's going to be reflecting on all the other records in this table. You'll want to do the same thing, update all the record titles for these other 2 tables. So they have meaning, substance. So when someone goes in and updates their form or whatever, their eyes don't get snagged on a record ID and say, what does that mean? The next thing I want to show, if I click into Cami, I want to edit Cami's record. You can see here, there's that relationship field. So when you say, oh, Cami's part of this office, it will tie the records together. So this needs a little more meaning in my eyes. So let's go in here. This is currently what we see right now. This is called the default record picker. So you'll find this on the child record of one that has a relationship. So we're going to just add some substance to it. the department, the manager, and the manager's title. There we go. This has a lot more meaning to make sure you hit save. And now if I select that, oh, let me refresh it. Now if you select that drop down, oh, there's a lot more meaning to what each record picker item means. So I am going to stop there, and due to time, I'm going to actually stop with my tips and tricks and give Daniel some time. Does anyone have any questions up to this point? All right, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thanks for passing it back over. I was just following along as well, so I would be in the same place as everyone else. So I've got 3 tables here, and we'll go ahead and jump into exercise 3, which was using the clipboard to go ahead and update some records. So we'll go ahead and jump into the employees table here. So I don't know where all of you are, but go ahead and click on the employees table. That way we're all on the home page here. What we'll also want to do is open up the second spreadsheet that we downloaded. And it's called Importing and Exporting Update Employees. That's what we're going to do. We should have some time at the end. There's a question about time at the end for questions. We should have some time. We're going to try and chug through these last 2 exercises. I'm always happy to stay as long as we can before the system boots us out. But we'll try and chug through these. This one should be pretty quick, and then we'll have some questions at some question time there. So if I open up that second spreadsheet, the update employees one, and I use the trick that Daniel said by highlighting all of these columns and double clicking, now I can see what data I'm working with. And basically, we're going to start tracking the overweight permits in the app. And with that, we need to import some new data about the employees. So you can see we have their name here, the email address, title, and then we've got some permit values, their Class A license, are they hazmat certified, etc. And so what we want to do is go ahead and click into the first cell, A1, and scroll down to row 86, and then click into H86 so that we're in the last column in the last row. What we're doing here is just grabbing all of the data, and then you can hit Control-C. Now it's kind of blinking, meaning it's copied to our clipboard. We're going to come back into our app with that copy to our clipboard. From our employees homepage, there's a More option, and under More, you'll see Import and Export. Go ahead and click on that. And the second option here is called Import into a table from a clipboard. That's what we want. What we want to do before we jump into this paste data box is we want to look at this merge field section. It's pretty cool. Before this was a thing, you would always have to import on your key field. But if you have any other unique fields in your table, like if we click into this, oh, record ID is the only one. Got a little ahead of myself here. If you have any other unique fields, they'll appear in this drop down. And we know we have in this table email address, and every email address is going to be unique for each employee. So what we're going to do before we import is click on Settings in the upper left on this gear icon. We're going to go to our field list. We're going to find the email address field, It's the fifth one down for me, employee-email address. Go ahead and click into that. And there's a box where we can make it unique. And we can check this so that QuickBase essentially checks all the values to make sure there's no duplicates, right? Because it needs to be a unique field. So check those boxes and hit save. Now we're all set. We can click import, export in the upper right from our field list here. And now, after we choose import from a clipboard and we click this drop-down menu in the merge field, we're going to see employee email address. This is helpful because in our spreadsheet here, maybe we got this data from HR or logistics or whoever's in charge of tracking all of these permits. They gave us email address, which is great. They wouldn't know the record ID. They're not getting this data from QuickBase. So they gave us email address here. We know that we can update these employee records on this merge field. So we're going to choose email address, and we're just going to paste into this big data box here. And the one thing you'll want to do is you'll see your cursors blinking at the bottom. For whatever reason, it always adds an extra line. You want to just go ahead and hit backspace or delete so that you do not have the extra empty line at the bottom of your box here. Then we'll go ahead and click import data. And we'll click OK. Basically what QuickBase, paste as plain text should work. I see that question popping in there. This message, QuickBase is saying, hey, you decided to import on a merge field. That merge field is in this import. You're going to update records. So just be sure that you're wanting to update and potentially override records here. And we're okay because we do. We don't need to import employee full name, so we can toggle the first radio button here because full name already exists in there, and we're not trying to update that field. Email address, yep. And it looks like it's trying its best to match these together, but it's not doing a great job. And so what we actually want to do is click Create New Field for all of these new fields we're bringing in. So go ahead and kind of sweep left to right, everything after email address. Go ahead and choose the bottom option, Create New Field. And that's because this is new data that we're trying to bring in here. And you can see as we change it to new field, the correct header is popping up here and the appropriate field type is popping up here as well. If we wanted, we could change these checkboxes to multiple choice yes, no, but this is okay this way. So let's go ahead and click Import with Update. Once you've chosen Create New Field for these final 6 columns. And we can see 85 employees were updated and 6 new fields were created. If we jump back into our employees table in the table bar, we'll see at the very end here, those new fields were imported. Now we have, our management has the data they need to be able to properly track if employees can even submit requests for these overweight permits. So just a quick little way to import via the clipboard and update records via a merge field. The next exercise we want to do is we want to take care of any orphaned records. So if we open up our final spreadsheet, which is called that, importing and exporting, importing permits, and we open that up, let me go ahead and you can close out of the other spreadsheets you have open as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up this 4th one here. And we can go ahead and take a look at what we have in here as well. And basically these are a ton of permits. So this is data that we now can import into our app. And you can see related department is blank. So if we were to import these fields, we would have a bunch of records, but they're all orphaned. They would not be related to the department. What we need to do is go ahead and head over to our departments table in our app. Your table may be on the left if you switch them in the table bar. I was not quick enough to do that as answering some questions. But what you want to do is jump into your departments table, click reports and charts. We're going to create a new report. Oops. We're going to choose a table report. And we only need a couple fields here to do our VLOOKUP. We need the department name, which is employee department, and the record ID. And when I talked about exporting, I said you could do it at the table level or the report level. Here we're doing it at the report level because we don't want all of the fields. We don't want to import or export all of the data. If you know you're going to be exporting this on a specific cadence, you could probably save this report and call it, weekly export. We're just going to use this temporarily, so I'm just going to hit display. It's a quick way to see what the report looks like. We can see we have our departments with the record ID. And let me toggle off the new style so that I'm in the similar UI as everyone else. And then you can go ahead and click more in the upper right and do save as a spreadsheet. That's going to download a new CSV, and that gives us our department name and record ID. So I'm going to open that up. And I'm just going to copy the values. So ignoring the first row, I'm just going to grab A2 to B5. So I just have the department names and the record IDs. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it into this spreadsheet that we're working on to import. And then I'm going to go ahead and close out of this other one since I don't need it anymore. I was able to pull the values out. Now what we're going to do is execute a VLOOKUP. What that does is we now have matching values on the department name. So this spreadsheet that our logistics team or management team gave us has department name, and our app has department name. We're going to match off those, and then that's going to go ahead and fill in the reference field with the record ID so that when we import, none of these permits are orphaned. They're all going to be related to a specific department. So what I do before I start a VLOOKUP is I select the values that I'm going to be using as my source. So A2 to B5. Let me make this larger, and let me zoom in as well. Let's try 125. Let me know if that's better. So I'm going to grab these cells, right-click on it anywhere in the highlight, and click Define Name, the second from the bottom. There's multiple ways to kind of define an array here, but I'm going to click this one. And then I am going to call it source. That's going to be my source data that I'm using as basically a lookup table. And click OK. Now what we want to do in our related department cell, or our first column here, is bring up the VLOOKUP. So we'll do the equal sign, and then as we type VLOOKUP and double click on it, oops, let me do it a different way here, because there's a nice way to get the actual function. So if I click into D2 and click the function icon a little bit up to the left of it, I'll get a bunch of functions, and VLOOKUP is the first one. You can also search for them up here. It finds VLOOKUP. Now I click OK, and now I get a nice little dialog box that's going to walk me through this. So the lookup value is going to be the department name from the data we have. So I'm going to I'm just going to click on E2. And I don't think I can zoom in on this little box, so I apologize. The next thing we're going to want to look up here is the actual table. And here we can just type in source, because that's what we named our little lookup table up here from A2 to B5. And then of that table array, what value do we want to return? We want the record ID, because that's what we want the output of this column to be, because that's what we need to use so that these records are related. And then lastly, you either type in true or false here. We want to type in false in all capitals because we want an exact match. That's how quick-based relationships work, and that's how we want to structure this. So we want to do false here. And then go ahead and click OK. And you'll get a number that gets output. It's good that we have a value, but now what we want to do is go ahead and kind of propagate this in every cell in this column. So in the bottom right corner of this cell, you'll see this little green box. And as you get to it, your cursor turns into a black plus sign. Once you get that, double click on it. And now every cell will get populated based on the VLOOKUP. And you can start to cross-check. You can go to a random record down here and see Seattle, Washington office, and it is number 3. And you can kind of do that a little bit. But basically, if you get an output in the first cell and you set it up, it's going to go ahead and fill these in correctly. Our use case, we only have 4 departments, but you can imagine if you have 50 or 100 departments trying to cross-check these record IDs and manually putting in the record ID for the department or whatever you're trying to match up would be super cumbersome. And so this automates this for you. Now what we can do is go ahead and grab all of this data here. Scroll to the very bottom. Select all of this. And then again, copy this to your clipboard. And then let's jump back into our app. And we're going to create a new table. So go ahead and click New Table in your. We're going to create it from scratch, and we'll call this, we can just call it permits. Single record is a permit. And then hit Create. And as you all know, when you create a new table in QuickBase, it wants you to create new fields. But we don't need to do that because we're actually going to import all the fields. So we can hit Cancel here. And then we're going to jump into table-to-table relationships and just quickly create a relationship between permits and departments. So from this drop-down, I'll choose departments. Make sure to choose the second option. A department over time will have multiple permits. Go ahead and hit Next. We can skip through this step for lookup fields as we're going to be importing fields, and we'll click Create Relationship. Now we'll jump back into our field settings on the left so that we can quickly access the import-export feature. And again, instead of file, we're going to do clipboard. We'll paste our data in here, click backspace so that extra row goes away. And record ID, that's fine. We don't have any data in there, so there's nothing we can update. And then we'll go ahead and click, let me zoom out here a bit. We'll go ahead and click Import Data. And we don't import the second column, the department name, because that's going to come from the relationship. So we can go ahead and do not import. And what this is going to do is now import all of these permits and automatically relate them to that parent table because we have a value in the reference field. So go ahead and click Do Not Import for the second column. Everything else is good, and go ahead and click Import. You'll get a little warning, quick basis saying, hey, I'm going to create some fields for you. We've got our permits created. What we can do is just jump into the departments table and open up any department, and we'll see in the embedded report there's a ton of permits. If we hadn't done this VLOOKUP and we imported this, these would all be orphaned. So when we'd go to our departments, there'd be no permits, and we'd have to, you know, manually update these hundreds or thousands of records. So VLOOKUPs are super powerful when you have kind of partial data from CSVs and then data from your app, and you can hook those up together. So did that work for everyone? Did everybody's import work okay? And if you jump into a department, are you seeing a bunch of permits? We will get booted out of here in a few minutes. So if there's any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A or in the chat. And if you don't get them answered, I'm going to notate them, and I can send you an email with an answer if you'd like. So as long as you get your question in here, I'll have access to this Q&A, and I'll go ahead and jot down the question and follow up with you individually if we can't get to it. So looks like a couple of folks, the VLOOKUP and the import work, so that's awesome. We do have a couple extras, but these will be included in the deck that we'll send out to everyone. So if I stop sharing here, I don't know, Rose, when will this be available? In the coming days or next week? If you could just give us a decent timeline here. And let me see if I can go to the bonus slides really quick. So here's some of the tips that Daniel covered at the beginning. Oops. Let's pop these open for you. And these will all be included in the slides that when we pass out. And then we have those steps on how to deal with leading zeros as well. And that's in this slide deck as well. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Rose. So it'll be accessible pretty quickly here. Definitely by tomorrow, it looks like. So awesome. Thanks for coming, everyone. We've got just a couple minutes here. Throw your questions in the chat or in the Q&A if you have any. And then I can follow up if there's any questions that don't get answered. Enjoy the rest of your Empower. Hope to see you around. And enjoy, and I hope you learned about a bunch out there. And yes, the leading zeros, it's definitely kind of a pain to deal with, but if you have any questions after you follow the slides, feel free to send me an email. Happy to walk you through those steps, as I've dealt with tons of leading zeros, and it can be pretty frustrating to deal with, why Excel just kind of zaps them from you. So I'll keep an eye on the questions, but thanks for joining us in Empower Day #1, and hope to see you tomorrow around as well. We'll get the slides out so everyone has access to those as well. And here's just a quick tips as you leave. We'll obviously include these, and we can get Daniel's more kind of comprehensive list in here as well. Looks like we've got a question coming in. This is from Rudiger, so I think I'll keep an eye on this question. I'll just see if I can answer it really quickly here. I'm not able within my Builder account to create a new app. We sent a request to your account admin for permissions to create apps. I think what's happening here is you may still be signed into your corporate account. So what you'll want to do is sign out in the upper right, and then sign into your Builder account. Because I think what's happening is you opened a Builder account, but you're still signed into your corporate one. So try that. Try signing into your Builder account. You'll get a link in your email, and then you should be able to create apps. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Rose. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, everyone.